Okay, it's gone.
Okay. Alright, so first I'm going to start with the salivatory system for my cat that I've dissected. The salivatory glands are located behind the upper incisors, directly underneath the tongue and at the back of the mouth. Basically, this supplies the mouth with saliva, which is used helpful at digestion because saliva produces enzymes which help break down food, and it also just generally keeps the mouth wet. So basically I'm going to go over the oral cavity now. Here we see the incisors, which are at the top. We see the canines. Directly behind the incisors are the incisive ducts. The function of the incisive ducts is, again, to supply the mouth with saliva, and it's important in felines mostly because the scent can travel up through the nose, which just goes back here through these cavities inside the brain. Here are the canines, as I discussed earlier. These are basically used for chopping meat because cats are primarily carnivorous, and these canines are very important. Here we see the premolar and then the molars. Here we have the tongue, and it's coated with many individual spines which are important for grooming both themselves and other cats. And the tongue is also used to break down foods and roll it up into balls, so it's easier to go down the esophagus. Okay, moving to the esophagus, which is located directly behind the trachea, which is located here, connects the oral cavity into the stomach, and back here we have the epiglottis, which is a little difficult to see, but is this flap of skin at the back. This is important because it keeps food from going down into the trachea, and it keeps air from going down into the stomach. Moving down into the cardiac sphincter, which is where the stomach connects with the esophagus, which is located right here, a little higher up maybe, towards the back. And basically this is a piece of muscle that allows food to stay within the stomach or come back up if vomit is necessary. Alright, moving into the stomach. The stomach breaks down food both mechanically and chemically using stomach acids. On the inside we see the lining of the stomach, and we can see the gastric rugae within the stomach, and the function of the gastric rugae is to break down materials. You can see in ours we have worms. Our cat had worms and a variety of other different foods in there. Moving from the stomach, we descend into the the small intestine, which is made up of the duodenum, the jejunum, and the lenum. Basically, the small intestine breaks down food even further after it's passed through the stomach, mostly breaking down the hard composites of food and turning them into nutrients and taking out the nutrients and spreading them through the body. Here we have the connection between the small intestine and the large intestine. And the large intestine primarily takes water and spreads it throughout the body out of the, as soon as food goes to the small intestine, it goes into the large intestine and water is separated. From there, what we normally have next to the cecum, which is the connection between the large intestine and the small intestine, is the appendix. But the cats do not have an appendix. It's considered an accessory organ within humans, which is important during fetal development. Now we move down to the rectum, which is located directly here, and this is where fecal waste, solid waste, is stored before it exits the body in defecation. Moving on to the anal glands, which are located here. Anal glands are important within mammals because they help release a scent that marks territory, so cats know who owns what specific sort of land. And then here's the anus, where solid waste leaves the body. Moving on, or coming kind of back up to the liver, this is where banal is made, and this helps with digestion, helping break down material, and it goes throughout the stomach. This is very important. It also helps with the production of red blood cells and the recycling of red blood cells. Now we move kind of back up to the respiratory system. Here we see the purpose of the respiratory system is to supply the body with oxygen and take CO2 out of the body. So here we have the trachea, which is the connection between the oral cavity and the lungs, which oxygen travels through to get into the lungs. Here is the right and left lung on either side here. Open that up, right and left. Here's the diaphragm, this piece of muscle here, which separates the lungs and the heart from the rest of the body. We'll now move to the urogenital system. Behind this massive organs here, we have a kidney here and a kidney here. And the kidneys control the regulation of water as it passes through the body, and also helps control water pressure. Moving past the kidneys, we go to the urinary bladder, where urine is stored before it leaves the body during urination. That basically covers the urogenital system, as urine passes out through the penis, which would be in our male cat. For our heart, we have the vena cava and the aorta. We have here on this side the right atrium and then the right ventricle, and I can open that up here. Right atrium, right ventricle, and then we have the left atrium and the left ventricle, basically on the inside of the heart, and that basically covers the whole dissection of the cat.